Welcome back to the Southern Showdown podcast. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Tripp. This is Chris. Over here at the Southern Showdown, we're going to talk about SEC football. Today we're going to take a deep dive into our top 10 SEC quarterbacks. The SEC is loaded with quarterback talent this year, so I'm excited to see how our lists stack up together. Also, special shout out to Tim Araquazo because this show wouldn't happen without him. It would look way, way worse. So
Oh, yeah.
you can go ahead and hop into your list.
Shout out Tim. Number 10, I got Brady Cook from Missouri. He's 6'2", 205. He threw for 14 touchdowns last year, 7 interceptions. He was pretty good on his feet.
It's okay. Sorry. I'm just laughing because I don't even have Brady Cook on my list. I don't.
Is that right?
The only thing that took him off the list, honestly, is the 7 interceptions.
Yeah, 7 interceptions. 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he still made my list at number 10. Probably. Who you got at 10?
I got Connor Wigman at number 10 from Texas
Wigman.
A&M. He looked solid last year. He played about half the season, and he played without turning the ball over. That's the main reason he got number 10 over Brady Cook or A.J. Swan. A.J. Swan, another honorable mention. But he had 900 yards and 8 touchdowns last year, and he had one great game against Ole Miss where he threw 4 touchdowns. So I think he'll progress this year and be a little bit better. That's why he's at 10.
Right.
Who's your number 9?
One good game. Tripp threw him on the list. I got number 9. I got Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, 6'2", 220. He did have 11 interceptions last year. I guess you kind of just got to throw some people that threw some picks last year on here. But he was pretty good on his feet last year too. He could definitely climb up the list this year. So yeah, I got Jackson Dart number 9.
I agree. I think Jackson Dart can move up the list as long as his decision-making gets better. But at number 9, I have Jalen Milroe. I'm assuming that Jalen Milroe is going to get the start. I know they have a couple quarterbacks that are fighting for that position right now, but I have Jalen Milroe at number 9. He has a ton of talent, but he just looked inconsistent. At times he would look good, and at times he would almost single-handedly lose games, or almost lose games, it seemed like. He had 300 yards and 5 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, and he also had 283 yards on the ground, averaging about 8.5 yards a carry. He looked talented, but he didn't play well under pressure. He kind of looked a little shaky to me. That's why he's at number 9.
That's respectable. Number 8, I got the NC State transfer, Devin Leary. Devin Leary transferred to Kentucky this year. I'm pretty excited to see how he does in the SEC. I don't know if he can handle the big dogs. So that's why I got him at number 8 pretty much. He had some injury problems, but in 2021, he threw for 3,000 yards or something like that. Over 3,000.
Oh yeah, over 3,000 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a pretty good year that year. He did have injury problems last year, but the kid's pretty dang good. Like I said, just welcome to the SEC. Let's see how you do now. So
for that same reason, I also have Devin Leary kind of lower on the list than most people would probably like. But it's just I don't know how he's going to play in the SEC.
It's a
different game. No, I got him at 7, but at 8 I have Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart at 8.
Jackson Dart. The talent is there. The kid's talented. He was a solid starter for Ole Miss last year. 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, like you said. Decision making is why he's at 8. For me, what makes a great quarterback isn't just how much touchdowns he throws, but he doesn't turn the ball over. So that's why I thought Hendon Hooker for Tennessee, we're Tennessee fans, as you know, but that's why I thought he was such a good quarterback. Also, like you said, I think Jackson Dart is good on his feet. He had about 600 rushing yards last year. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback and progress, and he could move up this list if as the season goes along. So,
yeah. Who you got at 7?
Number 7, like I said, I have Devin Leary. He graded NC State. In 2021, he had a stellar year, 3,400 yards, 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And, last year, like Christopher said, he struggled with a lot of injury problems. He only played a couple games, but he looked great at NC State. It's just the SEC is a different league. There's no telling. He could be great. He could be really mediocre. But I have him 7
Jackson
for that.
Dart, though. He'd climb the list.
Yeah, he could easily climb the list, yeah.
For sure. At 7, I got the Alabama quarterbacks because – like Saban said, they don't know who they're choosing right now. He said that he will announce it whenever they decide, but I'm assuming they're going to go with Jalen Milroe or Tyler Buckner. Probably Jalen Milroe. I think he'll kind of be a little more for the offense that Alabama's going to have this year. I think they're going to be more of a ground and pound team, so Jalen Milroe kind of fits that scheme. He's pretty good on his feet. I mean, he was good on his feet last year, like you said. I mean, he threw some picks. He fumbled the ball a good few times. I mean, he almost single-handedly lost the Texas A&M game for him last year, but thank God they were able to put it together. Thank God for them. Anyways, so yeah, number 7 on my list, the Alabama quarterbacks.
Uh, Number 6, I have Carson Beck. Um, People might be surprised that he's that high on the list, to be honest, because people hadn't seen anything from him. But in the spring game, he looked phenomenal. He has a strong arm. I mean, like I said last week, he's a field manager. He looked like a field manager. And I think what it's going to take for him to be great and to move up on this list during the season is he has to be mobile, like Stetson Bennett was last year. He's got to move outside the
Yeah, I
pocket,
agree.
make plays on his feet. But, I mean, he has a lot of talent surrounding him in that Georgia program over there. So I think that's why he's going to be a solid quarterback next year. Who's your number 6, Chris?
Yeah, that's kind of why I had the Alabama QBs at number 7. We don't even know who's starting, but
Yeah,
it's Alabama.
yeah, they're always going to have talent.
They're
Yeah.
going to have talent. There's going to be a coach there that coaches them up, so that's why they're above, some people on the list that some of y'all might disagree with. Number 6, I got Spencer Rattler, South Carolina boy. He's 6'1", 217. Last year, dude, golly, there were games that he would just blow people out of the water. He'd play stellar, look like a Heisman candidate. And then there's also games where he would really just kind of crap the bed. I mean, he was very inconsistent. But, golly, when he turns it on, he's really good. So that's why I got him up at number 6, Spencer Rattler.
Absolutely. I mean, Spencer Rattler, he's just inconsistent. That's why he's at number 5 for me. I almost had Carson Beck at 5 and him at 6 just because he'd have games where he honestly just flat out sucked. And then he'd have games where he would just play great, like against the Vols. I mean, he had that 5-touchdown game. That kind of
I don't even like talking about that.
broke my heart, broke my soul a lot. But the reason he's number 5 is because of Juice Wells. He has an outstanding receiver. Could be a Blinkentoff Award winner this year, or at least up there for those. And I think he'll tighten up his interceptions and turnover troubles. I think he'll tighten up on that side, and I think he'll be a solid quarterback this year. That's why I have him at number 5.
Yep. Can't do it without your wideouts. That's why I got old Carson Beck at number 5 with Ladin McConkey and Brock Bowers to throw to. They make it pretty easy. But yeah, I got Carson Beck at number 5. He looked great in the spring game. He's 6'4", 215. And, like you said, he's probably going to be a really good field manager. Can he do stuff on his feet? Because, last year,
Bennett.
old Stetson Bennett. How could I forget the old miracle boy Stetson Bennett, mailman? But, yeah, last year, he was good on his feet. He kind of pulled him out of some situations. And can Carson Beck do the same thing? I don't know. But, I'll be surprised to see if he has a bad year, to be honest. Like I said, in the spring game, he looked stellar. I mean, so good that it kind of scares me a little bit to what Georgia's got going to be coming up next year. So, old Carson Beck at number 5.
That's exactly why I almost put him above Spencer Rattler. But I just think Spencer Rattler has more experience because he's started like 3 years. Caleb Williams obviously came in and took his starting job at Oklahoma and then went to USC. And now look how he's doing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I almost had Carson Beck above him. But at number 4, I have Will Rogers. And honestly, I can't talk enough about Will Rogers. Obviously, we're high on Mississippi State. Honestly, I don't know why. It might be some type of drug they just gave us. But I think Will Rogers is extremely, extremely slept on. He's an absolute gunslinger. He had 4,000 yards last year passing, 35 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. The year before that, he had even more yards. He had 4,700 yards and 36 touchdowns. He has a career completion percentage of 69%, and he holds almost every single passing record at Mississippi State. And he holds the record for single season and career completion percentage in the SEC. The kid is a stud, and he could have been higher on this list, but I think out of sheer raw talent, there's a couple guys ahead of him.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I also have Will Rogers at 4, the old stat king. Mississippi State, 6'2", 210. Dude's just a dog. Like you said, he threw for like 4,000 yards last year, 35 touchdowns. His stats are just like incredible. He's really fun to watch. Golly, if you like offense, turn on Mississippi State and watch him this year. I have a good feeling that he'll be surprising some people. My whole top 4, man, there's some Heisman candidates, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Golly, like you said, the SEC's just stacked this year, and these top 4, Even Carson Beck, Spencer Rattler, golly, there's no telling. These guys are going to turn it on this year probably. But yeah, Will Rogers at number 4. He's just a really good leader. You
Yeah,
know,
I
I think
see
he's
that.
about to lead their
Like we
program to
said,
something good this
on
year.
our past episode. I mean, I think they got a family over there right
Oh
now.
yeah,
So, I mean, I completely agree with Will Rogers at 4.
for sure.
Moving to our top 3, I think this might be where we have some differences here. At number 3, I have KJ Jefferson. Now, a lot of people might be upset about that. I've seen a lot of lists with him at number 1 or number 2. But I see him as number 3. I'm a little biased because I'm a Vol fan. I got Joe at 2. But KJ Jefferson's just been solid his entire career, really. I mean, 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns in 2022, and 2,700 yards and 21 touchdowns in 2021. He's only threw 5 interceptions last year and 4 the year before, so he doesn't turn the ball over. He's a dual threat guy. He had 9 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, that guy will run through you. He's going to run the football. He's a great athlete. That's why he's at number 3. I think he can take some steps, and he could be number 1, to be honest. He could be a Heisman candidate. So that's KJ Jefferson. That's why he's at number 3.
Yeah,
you?
for number 3 for me, I got old Joe Milton, Bazooka Joe, 6'5", 242. That's a big boy. You know, God, he's got a cannon on him. I mean, he threw an orange like 110 yards. He threw a football like 90. That's just incredible. He's probably one of the best athletes on the field throughout the entire of college football this year, especially even in the SEC. But yeah, he's dual threat, so he's going to do some things on his feet. He might not run it like crazy, but you know the defense has still got to prepare for him on his feet for sure because he's such a good athlete. So can he get a little bit more accurate? That's what we're looking to see this year. That's why I got him at 3. But yeah, old Joe Milton, number 3 for me.
The accuracy problems are why Joe's at 2 for me, because in past years he's had that cannon, but he hadn't been able to control it. Old Bazooka Joe hadn't been able to control that bazooka, but he's incredibly talented. He has the perfect build for a quarterback, and he started 2 games last year for us, and he played in 8. He had 1,000 passing yards and 10 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. And where I kind of disagree with you, I think he is going to run the football like crazy. In those 2 games he started, I mean, he may not have been like having 100 yards, but he was having some quarterback design run plays, and I think Heupel might design some more plays for him just because he's a big body and he can run the football. And obviously he plays in a great offensive system. Last year Tennessee had the number 1 offense in all of college football. I think Joe's going to put up some big numbers, and he's probably going to be a top draft pick and a Heisman candidate. Might be bias coming from me, but that's just what I think.
Yeah, hopefully he keeps up that turnover ratio.
Absolutely.
That's a nice turnover ratio. Now, 10 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, although some of those stats did come from the old Vanderbilt game. But even a guy in, the number 2 Kentucky quarterback last year, Will
Levis.
Will Levis. Hell, he even had a hard time against old Vandy last year. So,
Yeah.
you know, you never know. My number 2, I got Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels from LSU. He's 6'4", 205. I think he's going to be definitely a Heisman candidate this year. I mean, heck, he had 11 rushing touchdowns last year, so he's absolutely dual threat. Dude's probably really going to light the field up this year. I'm excited to see him whenever they face FSU in Week 1. So, yeah, old Jaden Daniels, number 2 for me.
Absolutely. FSU and LSU is probably my number 1 matchup for Week 1.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I agree. That's why I have Jaden Daniels at number 1 on my list. I think he's the best quarterback in the SEC right now. I mean, early on in the season, he didn't pass the ball great. His accuracy and honestly just he looked unsure of himself. And then once he came into his own and he played great. He had 2 games last year. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground and 3 in the air, and he had nearly 3,000 passing yards and 17 touchdowns, and he only threw 3 interceptions. So he's not turning the ball over either. He's the definition of a dual threat guy. Almost 900 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns on the ground. That's absolutely insane. I think he'll definitely be a Heisman candidate, and I just think he's a stud. I think LSU football has a bright future with him.
Oh, yeah, he definitely cleaned it up towards the end of the year. But like you said, he was a little unsure of himself at the beginning of the year. One guy who was not unsure of himself all year long is KJ Jefferson from Arkansas. that's who I got at number 1. 6'3", 246, big old boy. You don't want to tackle this dude. I'm pretty sure there's some linebackers out there that are like, golly, I really got to hit that dude today, because he will run straight through you. He had 24 touchdowns through the air, 9 touchdowns on the ground, only threw 5 interceptions. I mean, those are just good stats already. And that dude, I mean, he not single-handedly carries Arkansas, but I mean, it's not the strongest SEC team. And golly, he's going to light up the field this year, and he's probably going to try to single-handedly do it himself. You know what I'm saying? They'll probably keep it on the ground. Yeah, he'll throw it through the air plenty.
If you're not going to say it, I will say it. KJ Jefferson's back is probably hurting from how hard he is carrying the Arkansas team. I mean, when it comes to raw athleticism, I mean, he's there. He's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I hope Joe Milton can match that athleticism this year. Maybe take a little step above. You know.
I hope Joe's number 1 in the draft this year. That's how I hope his season goes. I hope it goes a little bit like 1998 did for the Vols.
Does it feel like 98?
I think it does. But just to wrap it up, our top 3, I got Jaden Daniels, Joe Milton, and KJ Jefferson. That's how I think it's going to finish it out.
Yeah, my top 3, I got KJ, Jaden Daniels, and Joe Milton in that order. I'd like to see how it plays out this year, man.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for listening in, guys. We're going to try and update y'all weekly with the weekly previews this year, and that was fun.
Week 1 coming up soon.
See ya.